This is Andrew from Ironflame, and you're listening to What's Metal.
So it's a pleasure to have you on our show. So I only got into Ironflame recently, and I noticed that the band, or I'm not even sure if it actually is a band, or if it's more like your solo thing, actually.
It began that way, yes. I just wrote the album as a tribute to a fallen friend, a friend who passed away, and I just put it out for him as a tribute, and I expected to do nothing else with it from that point on, and people heard it and liked it, and so was kind of forced to assemble a band and start playing it live.
Right, so the rest of the band has no influence basically on the songwriting, right? So you did it all yourself, right?
Yes, these first two albums were me doing basically all the instruments and all the vocals, and then my friend Jim Dofka would do the guitar solos on both albums. And but now the dynamic has changed a little bit. I'm still doing all the instrumentation and all the vocals, but now instead of Jim doing all the solos, now Quinn and Jesse will do all the solos. Yeah.
So there's a proper band feeling now, and
yes.
You have 2 albums out.
Yes.
Maybe you could briefly describe what they are like, and if there's any difference between the 2 of them.
Yes, the first one is entitled Lightning Strikes the Crown, and it's definitely more of a simple bang your fist in the air heavy metal anthem kind of record. There's a very fun up feeling to it, and the second album is entitled Tales of Splendor and Sorrow, and I would say that it's a little bit more of a serious album. It not quite as much of the fun element into it. It's not completely gone, but it's not as heavy on the fun element. There's a lot more songs that dwell on serious things like mythology and folklore and things of the like.
So was that like a conscious decision from your side?
Yes, it started out, when Lightning was released, it blew up kind of fast, and I, in response to that, said, well, I need to get some more songs out, and I need to do it now. So I'd planned on just doing an EP, like a 5-song EP, and I just had in my head, what do I do lyrically? And I said, well, I really like Greek and Roman mythology, so I said, well, I'll do a 5-song EP that's a kind of a concept on all these old Greek and Roman myths. So that was the original plan, and I got that far into it, and I showed it to Jim, who was doing the guitar solos, and he said, why are you doing an EP? Don't do an EP, just write a few more songs and call it a full length. So that's what I did, but at that point I kind of exhausted the ideas of the mythology subject, so not all the songs are about that, and I kind of went into a different direction, but a lot of them dwell on that. There's a song about Prometheus. There's it's, I'd say 75% mythology, 25% other subjects. Yeah.
So the first album came out, I think, in 2016. So I thought now that you're coming on tour, I would meet like a bunch of guys that are probably in their early 20s or something.
No, not so much.
Looking at you, you're probably my age
not
or something.
So
yeah,
much.
so
I'm 43.
Yeah, so it's nearly my age. Actually.
Yeah.
I'm older than you, actually.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what have you done before? You didn't pick up like the instruments like a couple of years ago and started playing heavy metal or something. You must have done something before.
Absolutely. I've been in bands since I was about 15 or 16, and I started out singing. I wanted to play drums originally, but drums are the most expensive instrument, and I didn't have any money, so I just started out singing, and I sang in bands for a few years, and then cover bands, what everybody starts out playing everybody else's music. And then early 20s, I joined a black metal band, playing guitar and doing a little bit of vocal. I did that for a few years and broke off and did my own black metal project that was more like 2 guys in a drum machine, basically, and I did that for a few years. And around the year 2000, I started more of a I say you could call it melodic death metal band, and that went on for about 10 years. When that disbanded, I joined my friend's band, Brimstone Coven, and began playing bass and singing for that. And I'm still in Brimstone Coven to this day. It was, like you said, around 2016. The album actually got released in 2017, but I did write the album in 2016. Yes.
Yeah. But that's quite a ride across different genres of metal, right? So, like, where's the point where you said, okay, I need to do some more like traditional classical heavy metal then?
Well, that was the main reason for the tribute. My friend that passed away, he was a sound guy, but he was also a singer in a metal band, and he had a fantastic like Dio style voice, and we would always get drunk and argue about who we thought had the better voice. I thought he had the better voice. He thought I didn't. So when he passed away, it put a lot of things in perspective for me, and I thought, he would be disappointed that I haven't used my voice for heavy metal in a long time. So I'm going to do this for him,
Yeah. I was on holidays now for about a week with the family, and I thought, okay, maybe I make it to the show, and said, okay, I need to prepare a little bit, right? So I checked your Facebook page, and you're doing these kind of like, little greetings or little messages, for the fans, for the different shows that you're recording somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you do that at home, basically, or where is it?
That was all done, in my spare room in my house, and my guest bedroom. Yeah.
Because when I was looking at that, I said like the connection was really shitty, so I couldn't really watch all the clips. Right. But I saw that you were standing in a different room each time.
Yeah.
And I also saw that like on the walls you had let's say like I think in one room you had like an amorphous cover artwork, Tales from the Thousand Lakes.
Yes.
In another one there was like a Pantera record on the wall maybe, and then Catatonia poster or something.
Yes.
So I was wondering, do you do this on the road, or do you have this kind of like broad different background basically rather than purely traditional metal? Yeah, are these really albums that influence you a lot?
Oh, absolutely, 1000%. I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s. I started out listening to bands like Iron Maiden and Savatage and Halloween, Queensryche, but then once I got into thrash, Exodus, Overkill, Nuclear Assault, those types of bands, from that point on, I just got obsessed with whatever was the most extreme. So, of course, death metal came shortly after that, grindcore, and I became obsessed with that. The second wave of black metal hit the mid-90s, and I became obsessed with that. And those are bands, unfortunately now I know there's so much good music out there. I'm just an old caveman, and I cling to those old records. But Catatonia is a newer band, and that's a band that's changed, so drastically over the years. But I love all of those eras of that band equally. Like, I love Dance of December Souls as much as I love The Great Cold Distance. And I know that they couldn't be any more different sounding, but good music is good music, right?
Yeah, it is. So you're not shying away actually from the new media to push the band basically. You use social media apparently a lot to get the message out.
As much as possible, yes.
Yeah. So quite often when I talk to musicians that are kind of like our age, they would typically say, "Oh no, I don't want to have anything to do with that kind of like newish stuff." Right? Either people like it and they'll search for our music, and I just don't care. Yeah. Right. So how important do you think this really is?
It's a balancing act, and technology and social media is both a blessing and a curse. And I will be the first to admit that if I didn't have a band to promote, I would not be on social media at all, because there's a lot of negativity on those kinds of things that I'd rather just not be a part of, or even see, or even have to scroll past. But the reality of it is, if you want to get the word out about what you're doing, be it music, be it art, be it your career, you have to promote yourself on those platforms, or you'll just get lost in the shuffle, unfortunately. Yeah.
So the first time I saw the name Ironflame was, I think, in the announcement for the Keep It True festival in Germany. I think it was last year.
Yeah.
So you kind of like came out of nowhere. So was Oliver like actively contacting you to get you on the festival, or was it more like you pushing the message to him, like, here, we have a band and we would like to play?
I could be wrong, and I could be speaking out of turn here, and if I am, I apologize. But it has been my understanding that you cannot ask to play Keep It True. You have to be asked to play Keep It True. So Oliver did approach me, and I think the way he heard of us was a guy named Bob Byrne, who puts on a metal festival in Chicago every year called Legions of Metal. And my other band, Brimstone, was originally slotted to play Legions of Metal. I honestly don't know why, because it wasn't a very good fit. We're not a metal band. We're more of like a classic hard rock band. And something happened, and Brimstone couldn't do the gig, and it was right around the time that I was building this band. And I thought, well, this is a good opportunity. I'm building this band. It'll be a good way to get the word out and get people in front of us. So I got a hold of Bob and I said, hey, I have this other project. Here's a song. I think it's a way better fit for this show that Brimstone can't do anyway, so can we just switch, and can you let my other band do it? And he listened, he said, oh yeah, absolutely, yes. So we played Legions of Metal, and I think, like I said, Bob and Oliver are friends, and I think Bob may have said, hey, we had this new band play, you have to hear them. And that's how Oliver heard us and how he contacted me. Yeah.
So from what I've heard from your tour manager earlier, I think the attendance was quite good for the first couple of gigs on this tour.
Yes.
So if you play in the US, does it differ a lot from playing in Germany, or is it more the traditional metal that you play popular there as well?
The difference could not be bigger, I would say. Unless you're on a festival like Legions of Metal, I would say, at least on a band of our level that's still trying to get ourselves known, it's kind of fruitless to actually go on a quote unquote tour. A random show here or there, yeah, maybe. We're around the Pittsburgh area, and Pittsburgh is a pretty metal town nowadays, and so there's a lot of good metal bands there. So 3 or 4 times a year we'll play Pittsburgh with one of our friends' bands, or if there's a bigger band coming through a club, we can open up. But apart from that, no, it's pretty thankless over there. Now, if we were more, like I said, my other band, Brimstone, more hard rock, more like fits into the stoner doom category, that is a lot more well received over there, it seems. We can do tours. We just did a tour last month, a bunch of places we've never been before, a bunch of states, Texas and Alabama, Kansas City, Iowa, Chicago, all these places, and nobody really knew us, but they were still decent turnout shows, because I think just more people come out to see that type of music as opposed to traditional heavy metal. I think maybe in a year or so that may change, and the scene may get wise, if you will, and people will start recognizing it and coming out. But right now, yeah, it's still catching on again. Yeah.
So you're preparing to record the 3rd album right now, as far as I know.
Yes.
Maybe you can give us some details on what we can expect?
Yes, well, I can technically tell you that the 3rd album is finished, and we're just sitting on it and waiting for its release. It will be released in February. It will get released on CD format on Dive Bomb Records, and that's out of the U.S. And the vinyl will get released over here via Metal World Switzerland.
Yeah. So you're happy with both labels, yeah?
Absolutely happy with both labels, yes.
Yeah. I was wondering whether the contract was about your record deal, actually.
The contract is actually about a deal selling your soul to the devil, actually, and
that's a label manager, no?
What? No. maybe a pop manager, maybe a pop music manager or something like that just wants all your money. But no, here we all know that there's not much money in metal, so right. It's a fruitless endeavor to try and squeeze any money out of a metal person. So yeah.
All right. So our show is called What's Metal? What do you think is metal? What's metal for you?
Europe. Europe is metal, I would say. We've not stopped talking about how metal everything is over here, how genuinely family-oriented the metal scene is over here, how wonderful everyone is, and it's just the appreciation factor for the music is off the charts on this side of the ocean, and believe me, we would all live here if we could. We call, at least I call, Europe in general heavy metal heaven. So where we're sitting right here in this van having this conversation, this is metal. That's what I think.